The condensation ring on the solo cup had soaked into my jeans. I didn't even notice until I stood up and felt the cold spot right under my thigh, where the cheap plastic couch cushion sagged from too many people sitting there earlier. Across the room, under the flickering porch light, Rachel was laughing with people I barely knew, head thrown back, shoulders relaxed, beer in hand like it had been there all night. She hadn't looked at me in over an hour. It was 10:42 when I checked my phone, pretending like I had some urgent notification. Just another group chat meme and a "where you at" from my roommate. The party wasn't far from campus, but we'd driven out here because Rachel said it'd be easier than Ubering, and I figured she'd want to leave together anyway. Guess that was before I became the guy who made her cringe in public. Let me back up. Rachel and I met through mutual friends at a late-night diner after a concert almost a year ago. She was one of those people who never seemed unsure of herself. Big laugh, sharp tongue, confident walk, like she had a built-in spotlight. Me? I've always been more of a background guy. Fix things when they break. Remember birthdays. Offer rides when people need them. Steady. That was the word she used early on. "You're steady, I need that," she'd said once while slipping her cold hands into mine on a walk back from class. Lately, though, steady had started to sound like boring. The party wasn't even supposed to be a big thing, just a get-together for her coworker's birthday. I didn't really know the crowd. Most of them were from her side gig at the event planning startup she'd started interning for. I only knew Mark, her manager, because I helped him move a love seat into their shared office suite once. Still, Rachel had insisted I come. "You'll like them," she said. "They're cool in a weird, artsy kind of way." Which meant I spent most of the night hovering near the snack table, trying to stay out of the way while she networked or mingled or whatever people like her did at parties where everyone seemed to know each other from some creative project or shared trauma bonding over missed deadlines. It all started going downhill when I made a joke, one stupid joke. Mark had just introduced this guy, Tanner or Tyler or something, who made a big deal about running a niche brand consultancy. Rachel leaned in and gave the guy her full attention like he was reciting gospel. I was standing there, holding both our drinks like a human coat rack. Tanner said something about aesthetics-driven brand storytelling, and I said, without thinking, "So you charge startups $3,000 to pick the right beige?" Rachel laughed, but it was sharp. The guy didn't. Mark looked vaguely uncomfortable. And Rachel gave me this little tap on the arm like I'd just barked during a eulogy. "Don't be weird," she muttered under her breath before smiling back at Tanner. "He's just being silly. He's not really in this world." Not in this world. Like I was someone's dad who wandered into the wrong brunch. I tried to laugh it off, but something about the way she said it stuck. Like I was embarrassing her. Like being practical, being normal, made me some kind of buzzkill at her curated life exhibit. After that, I retreated to the corner of the room, made small talk with the birthday girl, who offered me a half slice of vegan cake, and then forgot my name 2 minutes later. I watched Rachel disappear into different circles, laughing with Mark, posing for pictures with a couple of girls who called her Rach, sipping her drink like it was an accessory. I stayed because I drove, and because I wanted to believe she'd eventually find her way back to me and say, "Hey, sorry about before," or "That guy was lame anyway," or just something. But she didn't. At 11:15, I saw her walking out the front door with Mark and another girl. Not in a suspicious way, just casually, like I didn't exist. She didn't even glance around the room to check if I was still there. I followed them out, calling her name once. She turned, mid-laugh, and waved like I was some classmate who happened to be passing by. "Hey, you good?" she asked, voice syrupy. "Are you leaving?" I asked. Mark checked his phone. "We're just heading to another spot. Little after-party thing." Rachel didn't look at me when she said it. You looked kind of like you weren't having fun, so I figured I'd let you do your thing. I drove, I said. Oh, right, she blinked. Can I just Uber? There was a pause, a moment so awkward even Mark shifted on his feet. I mean, yeah, I guess, I said, my jaw tight. She smiled. Actually smiled. You're the best. And just like that, they walked off. I stood there for a good minute after the door shut. The driveway was cracked and the porch light flickered like a dying firefly. The same cold spot from earlier had soaked through my jeans again when I sat down on the porch steps. My car keys felt heavier than they should have in my hand. I didn't go after her, didn't text, didn't call. I just sat there, trying to figure out when exactly I became a side character in my own relationship. That night, I drove home alone. Windows down because the AC was broken. Music off because silence hurt less. I didn't cry. Not then. But the next morning, when she sent me a "sorry if I was weird last night" text, I stared at the screen for a full 10 minutes before responding. I typed, "We should talk," then deleted it. I didn't respond to her text until the next afternoon, not because I was trying to play games, but because I didn't know what I wanted to say. Every version of a response sounded either too polite or too angry, too passive, too needy, too cold, too dramatic. Eventually, I just sent, "You kinda left me there." She replied almost instantly, "I thought you were done with the party. You looked like you wanted to leave." That was her thing. Reframing, taking a fact and softening it, sanding off the edge until it was technically still true, but didn't leave a cut, like the time she forgot my birthday dinner with my parents and told them, smiling, I just didn't want to overwhelm the evening with too much energy. Or when she called my old car charming instead of falling apart. I stared at her reply, then just gave the most neutral truth I could muster. I stayed because I drove us. She didn't reply for an hour. Then came, "You're right. I should have checked in. I was just in the moment and didn't think. I'm sorry." It wasn't terrible, but it didn't sit right either. It sounded like something someone says to avoid a bigger conversation. Not the kind of sorry that leads to change. Just the kind that hopes you'll shut up. Later that evening, she came by my apartment like nothing had happened. She brought those weird almond cookies from the coffee shop near her job, the ones she knows I like, even though I never buy them for myself. She placed the bag on my kitchen counter like an offering. "You doing okay?" she asked, glancing at me, then at the wall behind me. "Been better," I said. She sighed. "Look, I didn't mean to make you feel abandoned or anything. I was having fun. You weren't. I didn't want to force you to stay somewhere you hated." "You didn't ask," I said quietly. "I mean, yeah, I guess I didn't." We stood in silence for a few seconds, the hum of my fridge filling the space between us. I stared at the cookies. She stared at the magnets on my fridge. One was crooked, the one from the museum trip we took last winter. "I'm not trying to be the bad guy," she said. "You looked miserable. I didn't want to babysit you." "I wasn't asking you to." She pulled her jacket tighter around her, like she suddenly remembered it was cold. "So what do you want from me here?" And there it was. Not a question of accountability, but one of damage control. What do I want from her? As if the issue was me wanting too much. I shrugged. I don't know. Maybe to feel like I matter in public. Like I'm not just the guy who drops you off and holds your drink. "That's not fair," she said, a little sharper now. "You were uncomfortable around my friends. You made that joke about Tanner, and it was just off. I was trying not to make it weirder." I made one comment. "Yeah, and it was kind of mean. You don't know him." "But you laughed." "I was being polite," she said, then immediately softened her tone. "Look, maybe I overreacted, But I didn't want to fight in the middle of a party. I figured I'd just let you do your thing, and I'd do mine, and we'd talk after. You didn't just do your thing. You left with someone else and didn't tell me. That landed. She didn't have an answer for that. We didn't break up that night. I wish we had, in retrospect. Instead, we did what couples like us always do. We smoothed it over just enough to move past it, like covering a crack in drywall with paint and pretending it's not going to spread. She stayed the night. We watched a show neither of us cared about. She curled up next to me like she used to, but it didn't feel the same. My body was there, but my thoughts were already somewhere else, tallying every small moment where I'd been edited down to something more convenient. The next week, I saw the photos from the party. She'd been tagged in them. Someone had taken a group picture on the porch right after I left. Rachel was standing next to Mark, holding a solo cup and making that open-mouthed smile she only does when she's a little drunk. No trace of me. It looked like I'd never been there. She didn't tag me. I wasn't in any of them anyway. I didn't bring it up. But I started noticing other patterns, like how she used to ask if I wanted to come to her work mixers or brunches, but now she just mentioned them in passing, like the decision had already been made. Or how she stopped using we in her stories. It became, I went, I said, I stayed late. I disappeared from the narrative. A few days later, we were at a different party, smaller this time, a housewarming for one of her old roommates. I told myself I'd be more relaxed, that I'd try harder to fit in. Rachel disappeared into the kitchen 10 minutes in. I stayed near the record player, sipping a warm soda. I made conversation with a guy who turned out to be someone's cousin visiting from another state. He didn't know anyone either, so we bonded over that. For a minute, I felt okay. Then Rachel walked over and touched my arm gently. Hey, can you not talk about politics or anything too heavy tonight? This is kind of like a chill crowd. I wasn't, I said, just making sure. The cousin raised an eyebrow. I suddenly felt like a liability again, like I needed managing. That night I drove us home again. She leaned her head against the passenger window and tapped something out on her phone. I didn't mean to scold you, she said after a while. I didn't answer. Are you mad? I turned the blinker on. I'm just tired. Of me? I glanced at her, then back at the road. Of trying to read your mind. She didn't say anything else for the rest of the ride. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was tactical. Like we both knew saying the wrong thing would tip the whole thing over, so we just said nothing instead. When we got to her place, she didn't kiss me goodnight. She said, "Thanks for the ride," like I was her Uber driver, and she meant it. That night, I stayed up scrolling through our old texts. Back when she used to send me dumb selfies during lunch breaks, or ask me how my day was going, or tell me she missed me just because. I scrolled until I hit the first message she ever sent me. It said, "Hey, I like how calm you are. Feels rare." I stared at it for a long time, then turned off my phone. The next morning, she posted a photo of herself at a rooftop bar. The caption read, "Chasing Light." I wasn't in that world. The first real fight happened over dinner. Not a shouting match, not plates flying or doors slamming, just a slow, crumbling collapse of a conversation that started with garlic bread and ended with me walking home under streetlights that flickered like they were embarrassed to still be on. We were at that Italian place on 5th. Casual but cute, Rachel said. She liked it because the pasta came in tiny metal pans and the servers wore vintage band tees. I liked it because I could park nearby without parallel parking. We hadn't talked much all week. Some texts here and there. A few memes. She canceled plans on Tuesday. Rescheduled Thursday. I was the one who suggested dinner Friday. I thought maybe if we sat across from each other in a booth, just us, with no music loud enough to ignore me or people cool enough to outshine me, she'd come back a little. Remember who we used to be before "your vibe's a little off tonight" became a regular thing, she said. She showed up in a cropped sweater and heels she couldn't walk fast in, hair up, makeup sharp. She looked like she was dressing for someone else's camera. I showed up in jeans and the blue button-down she once said made me look like a manager at Best Buy, but in a good way. The first 10 minutes were okay. We ordered drinks, laughed about a video her roommate sent. I started to think maybe I'd imagined everything, or maybe we were turning a corner. Then the server came back to take our order, and I asked for spaghetti with meatballs. Rachel blinked. That's like the most basic thing on the menu. I like spaghetti and meatballs. Okay, she said, like I just told her I was going to wear socks with sandals to a job interview. I tried to shake it off, but I could already feel the shift. When the food came, she took a photo of hers, some beet ravioli thing, angled her plate, added a filter. She didn't ask me to be in the shot. I offered to take one of her, and she said, "It's okay. I don't love the lighting." By the time the check came, she was quiet. Not angry, just elsewhere. We walked outside. There was a breeze. I offered her my jacket. She shook her head. "You seem off," she said. I smiled without meaning it. "Maybe I am." She stopped walking. We were half a block from my car. "Is this about the party again?" "It's not about the party," I said. "It's about everything since the party." She crossed her arms. "Like what? Like how I keep feeling like I'm some embarrassing obligation you have to drag around." "That's not true." "It feels true." She looked away. "So what, now I'm a villain because I'm trying to have fun sometimes?" "No, but I shouldn't feel like I'm ruining the aesthetic." That got her. Her jaw tensed. "I never said that." "You didn't have to." We stood there a few feet apart, the night buzz of passing cars filling the silence. Somewhere down the block, a group of drunk guys shouted lyrics to a song I didn't recognize. "I don't want to do this in the middle of the street," she said. "Then let's do it in the car." No. That was it. Just no. I waited. She exhaled. "You always want everything to be a conversation, a whole thing. Can't some stuff just be what it is?" "What is it then?" I asked. She didn't answer. So I walked. She didn't call after me, didn't text later. I walked the 20 minutes back to my place without looking back once. That night, I left my phone on silent. I watched half a movie, drank a beer that had been in the back of my fridge for months, and stared at the ceiling trying to remember the last time I felt chosen. The next morning, I checked my phone. Nothing. No missed calls, no texts. Just a notification that she'd posted a story. Boomerang of a latte captioned "Reset." I didn't reply. 2 days passed. On Monday, she showed up at my door without warning. Hair in a bun, hoodie too big for her frame, sunglasses she didn't take off. "Can we talk?" I let her in. She sat on the couch like it belonged to someone else. I stayed standing. "I don't want to break up," she said. "I didn't say we were. But it feels like we're circling it." "Maybe." She looked up. "I don't want that." I finally sat down, but not next to her, the other end of the couch. "I feel like you've already left," I said. "I haven't. I get overwhelmed sometimes. When things get too heavy, I retreat." "Yeah," I said. "You retreat, and I stay." She took her sunglasses off. Her eyes were puffy. Maybe she'd cried, maybe not. "I know I've been distant. You've been dismissive." She nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." We sat in silence for a long time. I didn't rush to fill it. I let it sit. Eventually she said, "Can we try again? Actually try?" And I said yes. Not because I believed it would change, but because I needed to be sure. The next few weeks were better. She made more of an effort, asked me questions, held my hand in public again, Even posted a picture of us at brunch. First one in months. We had a little momentum. Then came her friend's engagement party. It was at a rooftop bar downtown. Everyone dressed like they were auditioning for some lifestyle brand catalog. I wore a button-down and chinos. She said I looked cute in a dad-on-a-date way. I smiled, like it was a compliment. Everything started fine. I met a few people, tried to remember names. She stayed close, introduced me as my boyfriend with a little squeeze of my arm. Then the music got louder. Drinks kept flowing. She started pulling away, joining different groups, laughing at stories I wasn't in. I tried to mingle. Talked to a guy named Josh about local breweries. It was okay. An hour in, I caught Rachel staring at me from across the room. I smiled. She rolled her eyes and turned away. Later, when I asked her what that was about, she said, "You were talking about your car again. Like, you always find a way to steer the convo to oil changes or tires or whatever." I was answering a question. Yeah, but like, maybe read the room? That's when I realized it wasn't about the party. It wasn't about the jokes or the vibe or the car talk. It was about shame. I reminded her of something she didn't want to be, something grounded, something ordinary. And that night, on the drive back, when I pulled into her apartment complex, she didn't say thanks or I had fun. She said, "Do you ever wonder if we're just too different?" I didn't answer. Not yet. When someone asks, "Do you ever wonder if we're just too different?" what they're really saying is, "I've already decided we are. I'm just waiting for you to agree." That night, I didn't argue. I just looked at her through the windshield, hand resting on the gear shift, and said, "I don't think I've changed." She exhaled hard through her nose. That's kind of the point. She didn't get out of the car right away. We sat there, both staring forward like the dashboard held some kind of answer. Finally, she said, "I need some space." "How much?" "I don't know. A few days? A week?" It felt like someone had pulled the emergency brake on the whole relationship, mid-highway, but I nodded. Okay. And just like that, she opened the door, grabbed her bag, and left. No hug, no kiss, no "I'll call you," just space. The thing about space is it doesn't come with rules. It's not a breakup, but it's not nothing. It's not no contact, but it's not closeness either. You start second-guessing everything, whether reaching out breaks the rules, whether silence is respectful or passive-aggressive. Every hour feels longer. Every text she doesn't send feels louder. By the third day, I stopped checking her Instagram stories. I couldn't take seeing boomerangs of wine glasses and blurry rooftop shots with vibes as the only caption. On day 4, I muted her entirely. On day 5, I saw her in person. It wasn't planned. I was picking up takeout from the Thai place near her building. As I pulled into the lot, I spotted her out front, dressed in a sleek black jacket, laughing too hard at something a guy in a slim gray hoodie had just said. He touched her shoulder. She didn't move away. They walked into the bar next door together. My stomach dropped. Not because I thought she'd cheated, I honestly don't know, but because I realized I wasn't part of her life at all anymore. Not even in the background. I didn't confront her. I didn't text. I just picked up my food and drove home. But I couldn't eat it. It sat on the passenger seat, getting cold while I parked 2 blocks from my place and sat in silence for over an hour, the pad thai steaming up the windows. I kept thinking about the party. The first one. The look on her face when I made the joke about the branding guy. The way she smiled at me, like I was a weird uncle who crashed the family reunion. How she walked out with her friends and didn't even ask how I was getting home. And the worst part? How normal it felt now. That kind of moment should have been a breaking point, but I absorbed it like I always did, like I was made of rubber, resilient, forgiving, forgettable. On day 6, she texted, "Hey, can we talk?" I stared at it for a full minute before replying, "Sure." She came over that evening. Same knock on the door as always. Same denim jacket. Same scent. Some vanilla lavender thing she always wore that lingered even after she left. We sat on opposite ends of the couch again. "I'm sorry if you saw me with anyone," she said. "He's just a friend. It's not what you think." I didn't say anything. Still, I figured you might have seen. We were at Bar Theo. I know it's close to your place. So you knew I might see you. She looked away. I shook my head, not angry, just tired. Why'd you ask for space? I needed to think. About what? About if we're good for each other, or if we're just clinging to something because it's familiar. There it was again, a soft bomb, delivered with care, still devastating. "Okay," I said. "So what did you decide?" She didn't answer right away, just picked at a thread on her sleeve. "I don't know," she said. "I think I miss you, but I also miss feeling excited." I nodded slowly. "You know what's wild? I've been showing up since day one, driving you places, supporting your new job, laughing at your dumb influencer jokes, holding space for your bad days, and now, after all of that, I'm still not enough for you to be excited." Her face hardened. "That's not fair." "Isn't it? You act like I've never been there for you." "You were, at first. And then the second you wanted more sparkle in your life, you made me feel like an anchor." "You are kind of heavy sometimes," she said quietly. That hit. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it. Not because I was hungry, just needed to do something with my hands. When I came back, she was crying. Not sobbing, just quiet tears sliding down both cheeks. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "Then why are you trying so hard to?" She didn't answer. The thing is, I don't think she knew. I think she was scared. Not of me, not of us, but of herself. Of what it meant to commit to someone who didn't look great on a feed, who wouldn't throw parties with themed cocktails or vacation in Tulum or match her aesthetic when filtered through Valencia. She liked me when I was an idea. Safe, calm, steady. She didn't love who I actually was. "I think we need to stop," I said. She winced. "Like break up? Like let go?" We sat in that for a while. No tears, no yelling, just two people realizing something at the exact same time, in the exact same room for once. She nodded. "I'll go," she said. She stood, walked to the door, paused. "I did love you," she said. I didn't respond, because she didn't say she does. That night, I didn't sleep much. I walked to the 24-hour gas station just to move, bought a Gatorade I didn't want, and talked to the night clerk about nothing for 5 minutes just so I wasn't alone with it. The next day, I opened Instagram. She'd archived all our photos. Gone. I wasn't even mad, because for once, it was my decision too. The following week, I kept expecting a message. Something short, maybe vague, just thinking about you, or hope you're okay. Something to pull me back in just far enough that I'd start wondering if she regretted it, but nothing came. The silence stretched, and eventually, it started to feel like peace. I didn't expect the grief to come in small, dumb waves, like the first time I reached for my phone to send her a meme and remembered I couldn't. Or when I walked past that Thai place and realized I'd never ask her if she wanted spring rolls again. Or when Spotify served me one of our songs and I yanked the aux cord like the speaker was on fire. I kept my days full. I went back to the gym. I cleaned my apartment like I was expecting someone new. I even said yes to things I'd normally dodge. Trivia night with coworkers, a weekend hike with my cousin, helping my neighbor mount his new TV. But it was the little routines that got to me. Driving home at night, walking into my apartment after work, and seeing her mug still drying by the sink. Hearing my phone buzz and still half hoping it might be her. She didn't reach out, not until about a month later. It was a Wednesday, just past 10 p.m. I was half asleep on the couch with a bag of chips and an open laptop when my phone lit up. Rachel, hey, I know it's late. Do you still have that tote bag of mine? The one with the mushrooms on it? No, how are you? No, hope you're okay. No, sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, yeah. She replied, mind if I swing by sometime to grab it? I told her I'd leave it with the front desk at my building. She said thanks, with a thumbs up emoji. That was the last time we spoke. Weeks later, I saw a photo of her pop up in my Explore feed, smiling at some bar opening, arm around a guy in a tan jacket. I didn't click on it, didn't stalk his profile. I just scrolled past it like any other stranger on the internet. Because by then, I'd finally stopped asking the question that haunted me at first. Was I really that embarrassing? And I realized I wasn't. I was just inconvenient. I wasn't embarrassing at the party. I wasn't weird for making one joke. I wasn't wrong for wanting someone to check in with me before leaving with friends. I wasn't too plain, or too quiet, or too steady. I was just incompatible with the version of herself she was trying to become. And that's fine. What wasn't fine was the way she made me doubt my worth to justify her exit. The way she twisted my care into clinginess, my presence into pressure, my reliability into shame. I don't regret the relationship, but I do regret how small I let myself become to stay in it. Now, when I drive somewhere, I go alone. Or I take someone who actually wants to ride with me, not just the convenience of being picked up. Sometimes, when I'm stuck at a light, I remember that night, the one at the first party, sitting on the porch steps while she laughed with her friends, already writing me out of the evening like I was an afterthought. Back then, I thought driving meant control. I thought offering to be the one who took us home meant something. But the truth is, it's not about who's driving. It's about whether the other person even wants to be in the same car with you. She didn't, and I'm finally okay with that. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.